Let's get started with Paddy Pimblett and Ariel Helwani trade verbal blows. Streaking lightweight contender Paddy Pimblett and longtime MMA Journalist of the Year Ariel Helwani have been trading verbal jabs in the media this week after Pimblett accused Helwani of selfishly making money off of fighters. The beef seemingly came out of nowhere, given the fact that Pimblett had appeared on the MMA Hour last year, where things between he and Helwani seemed to go well. With UFC President Dana White as a guest on his Chattin' Pony podcast, Pimblett didn't mince words.
He uses fighters for clicks, uses fighters to make money, and then tries to have the audacity to talk about the UFC and yourself, saying that they don't pay the fighters enough. Get your dough out, Ariel. Know what I mean? Start paying people for these interviews, what you make thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds on.
On the flip side of things, Helwani was quick to respond, explaining how it was Pimblett who contacted him personally to try and arrange an interview. When Helwani then reached out to Pimblett's manager, it was suggested that he get DT Sport to put a budget together to entice Pimblett to sign, given that he allegedly had several paid appearances scheduled. That didn't sit well with Helwani, who explained that he has never paid a guest for an appearance, no matter how big they are. Whether it was Conor McGregor, George St. Pierre, John Jones, or any number of legends Helwani had interviewed in the past, he maintained that nobody has ever asked to be paid for an appearance. In addition, the longtime MMA Journalist of the Year explained that he's never and will never pay guests to appear. The back and forth has dominated headlines over the course of the day. So far, no response yet from Pimblett, who's currently gearing up for his UFC 282 co-main event fight with Jared Gordon. Stay tuned for updates as they become available. Aljamain Sterling weighs in on TJ Dillashaw's alleged retirement. This week, former bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw reportedly informed the UFC that he had retired from active competition. The move was a pretty shocking one, given that the former champion had plans to return to the octagon after recovering from shoulder surgery. Although his manager confirmed the news, the fact of the matter remained that many were not entirely sold on Dillashaw's retirement. After all, fans are currently seeing in real time just how a fighter can remove themselves from the USADA testing pool in order to use PEDs to heal up from injuries. As long as a fighter is willing to go through a 6-month testing period prior to being cleared to return, they're essentially able to do whatever they want during their hiatus without repercussion. The loophole, which is now being referred to as the Conor McGregor rule, is one that has the MMA community divided. Bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling, who recently defeated Dillashaw at UFC 280, spoke about the situation, explaining that if a fighter's long-term quality of life is improved by utilizing the loophole, then who is he to judge?
I don't see any problem with that. So with that being said, I support TJ on this endeavor. I don't know if he's fully retiring. I do think he's just looking to get out of the testing pool so that he could do these things to get back to 100% as he can. So with that being said, I do think it's, in my opinion, it's okay. You know, I want the guy to be able to play with his kids. I want him to be able to wrestle with them if he can at that age, and not be limited because of the injuries that he's.
So far, no response yet from Dillashaw, who has a lengthy road to recovery ahead of him as he faces 2 surgeries in order to restore full function to his shoulder. What do you think of this situation? Should fighters be allowed to remove themselves from the testing pool in order to use PEDs? Or is the entire situation a stain on the sport? Give us your thoughts in the comment section below. Dana White opens up on Jiri Prochazka injury. Recently, the MMA world was stunned by news that Jiri Prochazka had suffered a horrific shoulder injury that forced him out of his scheduled title defense against Glover Teixeira this month. At the same time that news broke regarding the injury, reports also began to emerge that Prochazka had vacated the 205-pound title in an effort to make sure he wasn't holding up the division. It was a major turn of events given the fact that the fight was right around the corner. However, according to reports, Prochazka could very well be sidelined for upwards of a year, depending on how long it took him to bounce back from surgery. Despite the news, the only thing that was known about Prochazka's shoulder injury was that it's allegedly one of the worst the UFC's doctors have ever seen. UFC President Dana White shed light on exactly what happened during a recent appearance on Paddy's Chattin' Pony podcast, saying,
"It popped out, and he had some guys there at the gym.
Try and put it back in?
Yes.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Ripped the out of it and destroyed his shoulder. So I told him, tell all the fighters, if anything happens to you, jump in a car and go to the hospital. We will pay for people think that these guys at the gym can, fix your shoulder, do this, that. Don't even risk it. Just go to the hospital. It's crazy."
With Prohaska out of the main event fight, the UFC has now shifted gears and promoted the co-main event scrap between Jan Blachowicz and Magomed Ankalaev to the main event bout, while also booking the fight for the vacant 205-pound title. Before we continue, make sure you give that like button some love, and be sure to subscribe to the MMA Zone for all of the latest news. Brendan Schaub weighs in on gentleman's agreement between Kevin Holland and Wonderboy. This past weekend at UFC Fight Night Orlando, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Kevin Holland squared off in a highly anticipated clash of strikers that nearly went the full 5 rounds. Early on, it was Holland who found success, landing big shots that opened up several cuts on the face of the undefeated kickboxer. Unfortunately for Big Mouth, he sustained a broken hand during the fight that ultimately hindered his ability to continue. After the fight, fans were quick to praise the bout as one of the most exciting of the year, while former fighters like Michael Bisping and Brendan Schaub criticized Holland for engaging in a stand-up battle with Thompson rather than utilizing his black belt to grapple his way to a win once he realized his striking wasn't working. As many pointed out, not only did Holland avoid taking the fight to the ground, but he even gave up top position voluntarily at one point. UFC veteran Brendan Schaub weighed in on the situation during a recent episode of The Schaub Show, saying, quote,
okay, but if you're a black belt, you can drag him in those deep waters and it can get pretty dicey for a guy at a blue belt level. So Kevin Holland had a huge advantage there. And you do a gentleman's agreement coming off a loss, as much as we respect it, if I'm his coaches and team, I just say, hey dude, forget this gentleman's agreement.
In the wake of the fight, Holland posted a pretty horrific picture of his hand, indicating that he would likely need surgery prior to making a return to the octagon. Despite his inevitable layoff and the loss, it seems as though Holland managed to add to his already massive fan base with the performance. As many pointed out, prior to suffering the hand injury, he was looking good throughout the fight. When he does return to the octagon, do you think he should do so at welterweight or middleweight? Give us your thoughts in the comments section below. And now for our breaking news story of the day.
When you're top of your game and people always trying to have a go, how do you deal with that?
I can't say nothing back anymore, lad.
I know, you've had some good scraps, didn't you, this time?
Yeah.
On social media.
Yeah, I mean
like
social media, lad. I can't say nothing back anymore. I've had 2 accounts disabled on Instagram for bullying and harassment. When it's me who gets bullied and harassed, I just give it back. But because I've got a blue tick...
How does that work then? That's ridiculous.
I've had 2 accounts, lad. One with 187,000 followers got disabled. And then my second account had nearly 900,000 followers and got disabled. So now I just can't say anything back. I have to be smarter with it and say emojis instead of calling people.
What about Elon Musk then, but buying Twitter?
Well, I'm also banned on Twitter.
You must have done something wrong, Paddy. Come on.
Just calling people stupid fat idiots and stuff, know what I mean? When they've given me, they've given me grief and I've said something back. So because I'm in the public eye, people report my stuff and my account gets took down. I could actually show you this, look. I'll open the Twitter app. When I open Twitter, your account is permanently suspended.
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
Just comes up straight away.
Garbage, isn't it?
So I can't like a comment, I can't comment back to no one. I still go on it to have a look every now and then just to see what's happening.
UFC 286 booked for O2 Arena in London. The UFC revealed this week that the upcoming UFC 286 pay-per-view is scheduled to take place at the O2 Arena in London on March 18th. The news had been expected for quite some time, with the UFC notably looking to book a trilogy fight between Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards for the welterweight title as the headliner for the event. Although no official main event was given, many are expecting a fight to be announced sooner rather than later. In the immediate aftermath of Leon Edwards' spectacular knockout win over Kamaru Usman, Dana White revealed at the post-fight press conference that his immediate reaction was to work towards booking a trilogy fight in England. Fortunately, fight fans now have one more thing to look forward to going into the new year. The sentiment was also shared by Kamaru Usman himself, who spoke in the wake of the fight to reveal that he would love to fight in England. With the fight official, talk now shifts toward the rest of the card. Although there's nothing to go off of besides pure speculation at this point, many have already begun to play matchmaker for the card, with fighters like Arnold Allen eager to take the step from streaking prospect to #1 contender. It seems that many are hopeful that the 145-pound fan favorite finds his way onto the card. At the same time, former 2-time title challenger Jorge Masvidal has expressed his desire to fight on the card given his long-standing rivalry with Leon Edwards. With plenty of time to go until the event, we want to hear from you. What fights do you want to see on the...
Thank you for watching World Video News. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, hit like and subscribe.